What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Hope all you're having a great day. It's another beautiful day out today. Getting into this episode of GH, I'm happy that Michael and Sasha finally had this conversation. And the conversation was very mature. They weren't blaming each other. They just realized that, emotionally they both moved on from each other. Things didn't work out because you could tell like Sasha's definitely feeling Brando, Michael's feeling Willow, so it's like things just didn't work out, and they realized that even though they agreed to give their relationship another chance, um they agreed to give each other another chance. They haven't made any moves to really be together. You know what I'm saying? They haven't been on any dates. They don't talk all the time like they used to. They barely talk. We don't see them together like that. You know what I mean? So they started noticing that, and it's a conversation that needed to be had. That needed to be had. Um, and they handled it very maturely. They were adults about it. It wasn't no mudslinging, wasn't no blaming. It was just we did not work. You know what I mean? Like we've moved on. And Michael acknowledged that. Sasha acknowledged that. It's like we moved on. It is what it is. Um, I think the next conversation that needs to be had is going to be Willow and Chase. That conversation, for some reason, I have a feeling it's not going to go the way that Michael and Sasha's conversation went. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more dramatic on Chase's part. I don't know. I just get that feeling. Like, I could be wrong. I hope I am. But I don't know because, Chase really is feeling Willow. He's always been feeling Willow. So it's time for Willow to admit to him that, her feelings are not as strong. Her feelings are not as strong for Chase as they once were. I think once her and Michael slept together and started getting closer, that's when, shit changed. Like she emotionally moved on. And it's the signs have always been there though. Even when they, like I said yesterday, when they went out on a date and she kept talking about Michael, that was a red flag. That it's done. That her and Chase are done. You don't be on a date with another man and you talking about another dude. You know what I mean? Like, no. But I could definitely see Chase bouncing back. I think him and Brooklyn might end up together down the line because they've been hanging out sometimes, and the way that they look at each other sometimes is some chemistry there. To me, I feel like there's chemistry between them. Um, I I I wouldn't be mad at Brooklyn and Chase getting together, but my thing is I hope Chase is ready to handle Brooklyn because she's a handful, as we all know. Like Brooklyn ain't no joke. Um, so anyway, moving on from that, I love the fact that Brooklyn, was genuinely reaching out to Willow and trying to be a friend to her and talk with her and stuff like that. But Brooklyn, man, what is she doing with this fake ass pregnancy though? Like when Valentine came over and told her that he was assigning bodyguards and stuff to her, she was like, "No, you're not." When she tripped and fell, she fell hard on her stomach. And when she got up, she did not wince in pain not one time. She was not bleeding, not none of that. I'm like, Valentine, you didn't notice that? Like she wasn't in pain. This chick was sitting down worried about her shoes. She didn't say, "Ooh, ow, the baby, ooh, ow." Nothing. She didn't even try to play that shit off. She didn't even try to play it off. Like when somebody fake a pregnancy, they'd be like, "Ooh, the baby." Like they'll show signs of concerns just to play that shit off. You know what I mean? She did none of that. She sat down and said, "They're gonna have to fix my shoes." What? Like I really hope that she has some type of end game to this. Because when Valentine finds out that he was played by her, oh my god, you know how Valentine is. He has a petulant for revenge, so you never know. Um, I definitely think she probably gonna use this to her advantage to get ELQ back. I definitely think she will. Um, But she better do something quick, because once he get her to that hospital, she better pay off a doctor real quick. Like, do something, because it's only a matter of time for he find out he been played. Like, it's only a matter of time. I'm like, figure it out, Brooklyn. Um, Yo, Shorty was just worried about her shoes though. Like, that shit had me on the floor. Like, you ain't even play it off though. She's bugged. I freaking love this character. Like, she's nuts. Um, so anyway, moving on from that. Man, I did love the scene between Karli and Valentine though. I did, because this his scenes with Karli solidifies why Valentine is like one of my favorite characters on this show right now. Because even though he's supposed to be like a villain or whatever, it's like he still has those moments where he's just like he could work with anybody on the show. You know, he's maneuvering around. Like, he's not just working with just Nina anymore or whatever. He's floating around, like he's interacting with all these different people. And, you know, he's being a decent human being to them, like with Karli. And we all know Karli don't really care for Valentine, but I think she appreciated his words today, because what he said was definitely true. Fear is a good thing. You know, fear is definitely a good thing, because fear does motivate you. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of us have different type of fears. Like, you got some that got financial fears, like, you know, because if you grew up a certain way, you know, you don't want to go back to that. Like, say if you grew up broke, like you grew up poor, like just barely making it. Like, if you grew up broke, whatever the case, fear of going back to that lifestyle, it motivates the shit out of you. Like, it motivates you to be on your hustle. It motivates you to be on your grind. You know what I mean? So that way you would never have to live that life again. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different fears, you know? Um, so I love that he said that to her. You know, it's good to be scared. It's a motivator. It definitely is. My whole thing about fear, not only is it a motivator, but it's shit, is we all scared at some point. We might that shit takes me back to the Lion King, where Simba was asking Mufasa, like, you know, he was surprised to hear that Mufasa get scared sometimes, because Mufasa never shows his fear. You know what I'm saying? But Mufasa revealed to him, yeah, I get scared. Just because I'm tough and I roar and I do all this, I'm still scared inside. And I love that, because at the end of the day, we all are fearful of something or someone or something. You know what I mean? We all got our fears. But you never want to show that on the outside, you know, like your enemies, whatever. Like, you never want to show them that you're afraid. And I think Karli took what Valentine said to heart, and I'm glad she did, because if you notice in that scene with her and Cyrus, where Cyrus was coming up to her, basically trying to appeal to her and tell her, well, if you give me my mom back, you know, like he always does, whining about his mother, that, you know, he can use his power to get her in to see Jason and all this, you know, trying to bargain with her and tell her that she's all alone, and now that she's free of the mob because Sonny's gone, Jason's incarcerated and all that stuff. But if you notice, Karli stood tall with him. She never showed that fear, not one time, because she does have a fear, you know, because with Sonny out the way, Jason incarcerated, not knowing when he's going to get out, if he's getting out, whatever the case, um, there's a lot of fear, because now she may have to face Cyrus and the five families by herself without Jason at her side. That's a huge fear for her. But what I love was she never showed that fear. She waited until Cyrus walked away. She waited until he left to start like exhaling, and she was like, like, you know, doing that. I love that, because you know what? You never show somebody that you're beefing with, or anybody for that matter. You never show them your sweat. You never let them see you sweat. You never let them see no fear in your eyes. And I love that. Karli stood tall. Like, I love the fact that Karli stood tall. I love that. I think, you know, overall, I think Karli got this. If Jason gets out, if Jason doesn't get out, I think Karli got it. You know what I mean? I definitely feel like Karli can handle the five families, because whether Sonny's gone, whatever the case, even though we know he's not gone, Jason's incarcerated, it don't make a difference. Karli's not out of the mob. She might not be directly in the mob, but indirectly, she's always going to be a part of it as long as your last name is Corinthos and you live in that house and you got the guards and still with all the protection. You still got it. She's still connected to it. Um, and I believe she knows that, so she's gonna hold on to it. She's not about to let everything Sonny and Jason built over the last 2 decades go to shit. She ain't about to let that happen. You know what I mean? And then to have somebody like Cyrus take over, no, that would be horrible for Port Charles, and she knows it. She can't. She can't allow that. But I definitely love that scene though. Like she was not, no punk, and we've never known Karli to be a punk. She can be a little irritating sometimes, but a punk, never that. And Laura Wright is definitely working the ponytail look. I love it. Laura Wright always is gorgeous. She always looks her best, always. Um, so anyway, moving on from that, Nicholas was pissing me off. First of all, he should never. First of all, the way he was talking to Laura, I didn't like that. I would have popped him upside his head right then and there. Um, I understand he's afraid for Alexis's sake, but for him to sit there and come at Laura the way that he did, trying to, basically say, oh, well, you put our family in the middle of a war that's not our war. That's not what she did. At the end of the day, Laura actually did try to find out where his mother was. She went to Karli and Jason and asked them to return his mother. They refused. She didn't know where his mother is. She don't know. She did what she can do. She can't force Jason and Karli to tell her where his mother is. She can't force them. So her hands are tied. You know what I mean? Like, what do you expect her to do? She did try to intervene. It didn't work. She moved on. She said, all right, cool. But Laura's not a stupid person. She knows that Cyrus is not dumb enough to start a war with guns and everything else and bloodshed and all that when Karli and Jason has his mother. He's not dumb enough to do that. And I also think he's bluffing about Alexis because at the end of the day, Alexis is still the mother of Sonny's child. Anything happens to Alexis, Jason and Karli are going to act. They're going to do something. They're not just going to let him do something, have something done to Alexis and they don't do nothing about it. Even if Karli don't like Alexis, that's still Sonny's child's mother. They're not going to allow that and sit there and allow something to go down. So that's where Nicholas needs to think. I was horrified for Laura when she was talking to Cyrus and saying, "Is this the kind of family you want?" And he yelled at her, and the way he yelled and said, "This is the family I have," and she was startled. The way she jumped and clutched onto Nicholas, I was like, "Now that's some damn good acting. That's some good ass acting right there." I love it. I loved it. Like this just goes to show, like Laura, when it comes to Cyrus, she is intimidated. She's definitely intimidated because he gets that crazy look in his eyes. He's nuts. You know what I mean? But she knows that as long as they keep his mom away from him, they have the cards. They hold the cards. They have the leverage. He's not dumb enough to do something. Nicholas is not thinking straight. He's not thinking clear. And that's going to be his downfall. Like, you're not thinking. And this is what I think about a lot of them. All of them combined have so much power. Laura being the mayor, Nicholas being the Cassadine. And he tried to use that to his advantage with Cyrus. Talking about, oh, you do know I'm a Cassadine, right? Here's the thing. And he tried to bring up Helena and all this, that, and the third. I'm like, you got to understand something, Nick. That Cassadine name, it used to bring fear into people. But you want to know why? Because you had Mikos around at the time. You had Victor around at the time. You had Helena around at the time. You have none of those people right now at your disposal. They're gone. You don't have them. They were the dangerous Cassadines. Now, don't get me wrong, Nicholas, I don't want to underestimate Nicholas because he's no slouch either. But when it comes to being a ruthless Cassadine, he's no Stavros, he's no Stefan, he's no Helena, he's no Victor, he's no Tony, he's none of those people. He's no Mikos, he's not them. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have that in them, in him. He doesn't possess that. He's a smart person, don't get me wrong. Nicholas can be, he's smart when he wants to be. He could be, cunning, conniving. He could be all those things. But to go up against somebody of Cyrus's stature, you need a Stavros, you need a Helena, you need them. But without them, the Cassadine name really don't mean shit. That's like if you watch Days of Our Lives. Look at the Demira family. The Demira family is not ruthless without Stefano. Stefano was the ruthless one. The reason people quivered with fear whenever they heard the name Demira was because Stefano was around. And they knew how Stefano is. They know his reputation. His reputation preceded him. You know what I'm saying? He spent years building that fear, that reputation amongst people. And once he was dead, the Demiras went to shit. Nobody feared them. You know what I'm saying? It's like the Cassadines. Once Helena died and Stavros is gone and all that stuff, nobody fears that family anymore. Because they don't have anybody currently in the generation to fear. So him name dropping don't mean dick to Cyrus. Don't mean nothing. You need somebody with, ruthless enough to back up that power. But seeing as how he does own Cassadine Industries and he does have business contacts and all that type of contacts, what he should do if he was smart was all of them need to combine their resources. And what I mean by all, I mean Laura being the mayor, Nicholas being a Cassadine / CEO of Cassadine Industries, Karli being Sonny's wife and a business owner, Jason, all of them have an abundance of contacts and power. Combine your resources. If they all combine those powerful resources, just like that, you could take Cyrus out. Work together. United we stand, divided we get played. So it's time for all of them to unite. Cyrus is out here by his damn self. Come on, it's a no-brainer. Take his ass down. But, I understand his fear for Alexis, but I'm like, come on. They got enough power, money, they could pay somebody on the inside to protect Alexis. If you're that worried about it. Nicholas need to stop being a dummy and think. Use your noggin. So anyway, moving on from that. Ava is no joke. Like, Ava's not playing around. And I love me some Ava. She believes that Ryan is the one tormenting her, sending her that hand and stuff. Kevin doesn't believe it though, because Kevin feels like it could be anybody just trying to mess with her, because mind you, her situation with Ryan was public. It was public knowledge. Everybody knew she had a situation with Ryan. So any one of her, Nicholas's enemies could be using that to get at her, which is true. That is true. They made numerous enemies over the years. But it could either be Ryan, but my money is definitely on Spencer. I could see Spencer pulling something like this off because he's conniving enough. He's ruthless enough for a little, for a little teenage boy. He has the brain of a grown ass man who can think like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's very intelligent. He has a high intelligence. So I wouldn't put it past Spencer to try to get some type of revenge on Ava. You know what I'm saying? He is a Cassadine. You can't put nothing past that kid. But Ava was ready, though, because Kevin, he told her, he was like, I don't feel comfortable leaving you here by yourself, at the office. Let me drive you to the pier and, make sure that you get on the boat safe to get back to Windermere. She was like, nah, I'm good. She pulled out that little gun. She said, I ain't never by myself. I freaking love Ava. I love her because she's about that life. Like, no matter how sophisticated she comes off and stuff like that, Ava will shoot your ass if she needs to. I love that about her. Like, she's about that life. Her and Nicholas, though, they need to, get together and figure out who's coming after them or coming after her, who sent her the hand, They definitely need to figure that out real quick. So anyway, moving on from that, Lord, I freaking love that parole consultant that came over to talk to Alexis before she goes to prison and stuff. Because, Alexis is still getting her affairs in order. She got 7 days. So she basically signed her power of attorney over to Sam. And Sam's going to handle all her, financial stuff and her house, take care of all that, her car, handle all her financial responsibilities. All of that is now in Sam's hands. I love that little consultant lady when she came in there because, Alexis tried to use dry humor and all that stuff to, because sometimes people gotta, how we use the saying, you gotta laugh to keep from crying. But in this situation, it's not a laughing matter. And that lady was trying to, tell Alexis that. She was like, bro, prison ain't no joke. You can't sit in there and joke around with the inmates in prison, because you don't know what joke is going to be funny and what joke is not going to be funny, because it could get you killed or it could get your ass beat up in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be on your shit in prison. Basically, she's trying to tell Alexis, like, you cannot be nice in there. You can't be goody goody. You can't be none of that. You got to be smart in there. You got to be tough. You know what I mean? You got to protect yourself. And she told Alexis, you need to get some boxing lessons, get you a trainer, because you're going to have to learn how to knuckle up and fight up in there, because it's rough in prison. She's not going to have protection. She has to be her own protection. I'm glad that lady told her that. As much as Sam was upset because she felt like the lady was being, mean or trying to make prison. I'm like, come on, Sam, you had a stint in prison. You know how it is in Pentonville. It ain't no joke. The lady, I don't think she was being mean or anything like that or trying to be offensive or nothing. I think she was just being real. Like, prison is real. It's not a joke. You have all type of crazies up in there. You got murderers in there. You got rapists in there. You got all type of criminals up in there that will try new people that come in there. So Alexis needs to get tough, and she needs to get tough now, because prison is going to change Alexis. It's going to harden her up. Even though she had, a pretty, hardened up life anyway with Helena being a stepmother, but still, it's like prison is a whole different beast. And when her and the lady went outside, she heard a lot about the lady's story. She told her side of the story about how she shot her husband multiple times because he was an abuser. He used to beat her and stuff like that. If if things in the household wasn't the way he wanted them to be, he put hands on her. He told her, he was like, if I see streaks on the bathroom mirror, he said, I'm gonna kill you next time. So she was like, shit, I ran out of window cleaner. I ran out of glass cleaner, not to laugh at it, because it happens in real life. I was watching a movie once where a lady's husband literally punched her in the face because he was eating a steak and there was no ketchup on the table, and he wanted ketchup and she didn't have it on the table, and he punched her in the face for that. It happens in real life. Like, dudes, even some women, like, they crazy. Like, if you don't, hang the toilet paper the way they want you to hang it, they gonna sock you in the face. They're crazy. They're nuts. But man, I love that lady though. I could definitely see her as a recurring character in this show, because I like her personality. If they can explore that a little bit more, I would love to see her come back on the show. She's real. Like, I love it. And it changed Alexis's attitude real quick, because she came back in the house and she told Sam, she was like, while I'm in prison, I need you to be okay. She said, I don't need you to be great. I don't need you to be good. I need you to be okay, because if shit go down out here, there's nothing I can do for you in there. With her being in prison, there's nothing she can do for Sam. You know what I'm saying? So she needs Sam to kind of step up and be on her P's and Q's and stuff, because Alexis has to be tough in prison. She can't be vulnerable in there. She can't be weak. You know what I mean? Because if them inmates smell that weakness and that vulnerability, it's a wrap. I really love this. I love they brought that lady on. I think that was a smart move. I definitely this episode was real good. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Hit the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. I will see you all later. Hope you all have a great day. Peace.